Welcome to the SBCA podcast, Component Connection, where we explore the people, ideas, trends, and innovations shaping the structural framing industry. Regardless of how you touch this industry, we're glad you're here. Enjoy the episode.
Hello, this is Ashley Baker, the Director of Education for SBCA, and I'll be your host for this episode of Component Connection. I'm joined by Corey Lane, who is one of our very own here at SBCA. We're going to talk a little bit about safety and what Corey does here at SBCA and all of the exciting things that he has developed. So without further ado, we'll welcome Corey to our podcast.
Thanks, Ashley. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're excited for everyone to get to know you a little bit better today and to talk through, like I said, some of what you have cooked up and what you've been working on for the last year and a half that you've been with SBCA. So can you start by sharing a little bit about your role? Tell us what you do and why the safety piece is so important, obviously within component manufacturing, and maybe a little bit about how you differ from, say, a generic OSHA program.
Yeah, so I'm the safety coordinator here with the SBCA. A lot of what I've done so far, a lot of content creation, going back and looking at the older programs of what we had to kind of get a feel of where we want to go for the future. I guess what sets this apart from like a traditional safety coordinator role or maybe an OSHA program in general is that it does cover all the basis of what OSHA really wants you to have in safety programs, but it also ventures into our industry specific content. There's a lot of unique machines and processes in this industry that really stand out. And I think that's what's going to set this program and these resources apart from a typical safety program.
That's really exciting. I have had many conversations with individuals specifically on the education committee, but of course at BCMC, OQMs, they're always asking about safety. And so we're really excited that you've been working on, the safety realm, so to speak. Can you give us some insight on some of the specifics and what you've been developing?
Yeah, so like I said, we started looking at operation safety, seeing where we were at. I know some of the older modules were outdated. Some of the OSHA information in the program was a little outdated. So I went through and wanted to update that, make it more up to date, just information wise, but also more approachable. I know the older documents were, kind of rambling on, like reading a novel a little bit. So we did want to make it approachable, kind of give it a different feel as you were navigating through the source material. And we did this with the idea that we wanted to remain OSHA compliant information, but also delve into some specifics, how to build good safety culture, employee training, where you could actually see in real time what you like is a safe practice versus an unsafe practice. So the documents that we have created so far are management guidelines, employee training guidelines, and then machine specific library is something we're really excited about. That's going to be very industry specific. And then some lockout, tagout, and even delving into some fleet safety and turning that all into modules and hopefully some toolbox talks too that can really pinpoint crucial information that our association members can use.
So you have been very busy is what you're saying.
It's been a long road. Yeah, a lot of working in the background and very excited to get this content out to people. We did have a beta test group that went through some of the material that I've created so far. A lot of great feedback there and very, very helpful stage of the process. But as we continue to roll this up, it's something we're very excited for members to get their hands on, kind of a more functioning as a safety hub rather than adopting a specific safety program. So what it's really supposed to do is help our members by being a great resource. And the thing about it is it's going to be a free membership perk that you can sign on. You can see this content on this new website that's being developed right now. And you can pick and choose what you would like to gain from that, whether it would be our management guidelines, employee training. If you're looking for a specific machine and you need some references on what to do for lockout, tag out, these are preventative maintenance, you can pluck all that right off the site and take what you want rather than be bombarded by documents after document. So,
Yeah, we spoke a little bit about, prior to jumping on here and talking, and you said something that really stood out to me. This is sort of that condensed, I think most are familiar with Cliff Notes from back in the day, sort of the Cliff Notes version of various, pieces of equipment, right?
right. And I think that's what kind of sets us apart is the people that, manuals can be very intimidating to look at. It's a lot of information. You get lost in what you're looking for. So what I did was plucked from manuals from manufacturers. We give you the link to the manual, but we can help you leaf through it by highlighting, the lockout, tag out, the certain SOPs that you're looking for, or preventative maintenance strategies. All you have to do is utilize our documents, and you can really find exactly where you need to go and help you navigate.
That sounds like a really, really valuable tool or resource that people have. Are you missing any? Do you need additional pieces of information to round out, any of those offerings?
Yeah, and I think that's what's going to be really interesting and needed in the next steps of the process is that collaboration with our association members and even equipment manufacturers. We're having gaps where we hit a wall, you can't find the resources. Some of the equipment is newer in the industry, but some of them, it's a little older. So it's hard to track that down, especially on the internet. So it would be great to build relationships with our members and be able to, gain a list of what's being used, what's most common in the industry, and help fill that gap by collaborating. And then we can do the legwork and go get the resources. But it would be very important to get that feedback from members that are going to be using the content. Like, what are we missing? What do you guys want to see?
Right. I think that's something that, we've had quite a few conversations about as a staff where we are really, in service to the members. So what they need, what they want, how they, utilize a resource, that's the most important piece of the puzzle. And if we don't know what that is, it can be hard to create some of that. So leaning into insight from members is obviously crucial. If folks, want to reach out and say, hey, I'm interested in helping, or I'd love to see what you've got, maybe offer up a manual if they've got one, how would they go about doing that?
You could find contact information right on our SBCA website for me, and I'm always available and looking forward to talking with members. That would be one way. Anybody at the SBCA also, if you have any safety questions, that could all be turned to me. We're very good at talking as a staff and getting you pointed in the right direction. So there's multiple avenues, but I know my information's right on our website. But if you happen to contact who you might think you need to talk to here and have a safety question, feel free, and the staff will get you pointed right to me.
Yeah, very true. I've had some conversations with, an education committee meeting, again, at an OQM, and it's easy to point people in the right direction. Of course, that's what we want to do. That is our ultimate goal. And we love helping people. So definitely reach out with those questions. As Corey said, you can get that off of our website, sbcacomponents.com. Let's talk, Corey, a little bit more about sort of some of the updated content, as well as some of the new content, and maybe why you feel like it's particularly important to come out now. Obviously, I've gone through and created some modules and sort of brought them into the 21st century, if you will. But there's some content that we don't have yet that would be a resource in our academy, for example. Also, lockout, tagout is important. I know some of that machine-specific content obviously will live on our safety website, but there are certainly trainings that, you and I can work on developing together that can then live in our academy as a training resource. Are there certain, programs or certain specific trainings maybe that we don't have that you feel like will be particularly important to introduce to our membership sooner rather than later?
Yeah, and I think what we have so far, just to kind of recap, we do have the guidelines and best practices for management and employee, and we built a really good source for that. And a lot of it's built how to build a culture. You really utilize this whether you're starting from scratch, which I would assume most people aren't. But if you feel like you need to update or you're looking for specific information just to bolster your program, it's all stuff you can come for the management and the employee training, obviously. And then what we're doing with the industry specific material, that would be, the unique machinery and processes. It's great information what we have so far, but what we're really craving is be a little bit more intuitive with it. Hopefully we can start building resources that are very specific. And by that, I mean, whether we're going to build toolbox talks or something that target specific processes or specific machines that are very common in the industry, we could really break it down and create content that's very specific and do videos showing this breakdown of these processes, stuff that people in the industry, not even just in the beta test, but people reached out and they're really craving that information to break down the barriers. I know there's a lot of, the language barriers in the industry and all the hindrances in safety, especially because, I'm not naive to it. I know safety kind of gets pushed to the back burner. And that's why we're so passionate about bringing this library of great resources to the members to bring it back into the forefront and really prioritize that we're taking this seriously and that it matters. And there's very good feedback so far that is the case in this industry. So hopefully we can kind of sky's the limit with this and keep this resource hub. We're building more and more and more stuff as we go that people are actually interested in, and we're just not throwing random information out.
That's a good point. And you brought up a conversation and sort of a general feel that you had after BCMC, in that it almost came across like people maybe thought we were trying to replace a safety program that they have that would be, site specific, which of course is key. And that's, of course, not our role. Can you talk a little bit more specifically about that?
Yeah, it definitely seemed just a few conversations in person that I had there at BCMC that maybe the wrong impression was coming across with all this. What this all is, our safety program that we're putting out. We're not trying to overtake safety in the industry by replacing your programs that you have pre-existing, especially with, lockout, tagout, these machines. A lot of that information has to be site specific. But what we're really doing is pinpointing information that we feel is relevant from OSHA, stuff that we know that you need to have in your safety programs as more of a check. So you can come look in what we have. If you feel like you're lacking in areas, you can utilize us as a resource to help bolster your programs. And maybe you'll be surprised you find areas that you're lacking, areas that you haven't even thought were relevant. And you can plug and play and use what we have as a resource and help the industry as a whole. And that's the goal, is to improve safety in the industry. And the best way to do that is collaborating, utilizing resources from different companies. And I think that's what's really unique about what we're trying to do, is open the floor for this collaboration and allow people to really start getting safety back into the forefront.
And I think it's something that, changes so often too. That's one thing I've noticed when it comes to updating some of the content in modules and whatnot within the academy that we already maybe have. There are frequent updates. There are things that change, from a slight change to a major change. And the goal is obviously that we try to make this as easy on members as possible and get them the content that's palatable and simple to understand, without having to read through 5 different websites or, going back to the manuals. It's the Cliff Note version, right? You can find something a lot easier which is, again, that's the whole goal, trying to simplify a process to make it user friendly. I think I assume you would agree, is the way to get people to use it like they should use it, and of course more regularly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the most important part is people learn differently. And what we're really trying to do is keep that in mind. So we're going to broadcast all this information in different formats, like your education modules that you're doing. We'll make that available. In the resources on this website, it's supposed to function as a one-stop shop. Saying one-stop shop kind of implies that you're buying something, but like I said, it's a free membership perk that hopefully everyone really likes, that everything's right there. You can go there. We're even going to have hopefully some tabs for outside resources just to keep you updated. OSHA's updates and everything they come out with, we're going to provide information like that. We're going to make sure our resources are up to date always. That's what's nice about the way we're broadcasting it in that format, is that we're going to continuously be able to update as things may change, may or may not change over the years, and hopefully provide the gaps in the knowledge that people were really craving.
Right. It's always frustrating when you have to go to 10 different places to try to find a few pieces of information. So having it all in one place and easy to understand is definitely a benefit. And that's something that we're really proud of and excited to share with members. Do you have any insight on, when some of this might be rolled out, or kind of timelines looking at, 2026?
Yeah. So right now we're doing internal testing, just with staff and a few others, just to make sure that the site's functioning properly. We're making sure we have all the updated, revised documents in one place, making sure they're formatted, trying to work out all the bugs possible. So anytime you launch something like this, there's going to be, certain bugs or hindrances that people notice. And that's something we're hoping sooner rather than later to get more and more eyes on this and have people go through, make sure the functionality is great. Not only just functionality, but still make sure the content's great. So I see that happening relatively sooner rather than later. And hopefully this is something we can really start projecting out into the world, and people are going to have very positive responses about it, I think.
I know all of those listening are excited. And I know because I've had many conversations with those who I am sure will listen to this podcast. So it's great to know that we've got things that are, coming down the pipe and sooner than later, because again, people are craving that kind of material. It's needed, it's required, in a lot of ways. So very excited to hear we've got things in the works. I really appreciate you for jumping on here and sharing a little bit about who you are and what you've got going on. And we are going to make sure that Corey is at the forefront of all things safety. If you've got questions, you can always reach out to anybody at SBCA. But of course, Corey is our safety coordinator and someone who is going to be a resource for you that can guide you and, of course, get you the information that you need when you need it. So we appreciate you, Corey. Again, questions, sbcacomponents.com. Corey's information is right on there. You can reach out anytime, and he is always quick to respond. Thank you for your time, Corey.
Thanks so much for having me. I look forward to everything that we're really doing here, and it's very exciting that it's going to be coming to light very shortly.
Oh, awesome. That's a wrap. Thank you, Corey, for joining us today. And thank you all out there for listening to SBCA's podcast, Component Connection. If you enjoyed this episode and found it valuable, please like it and share it with others. Stay up to date and in the know by subscribing to Component Connection on whatever podcast platform you use most.
Thanks for listening to Component Connection, brought to you by SBCA. If there's a topic you'd like us to explore in a future episode, email us at podcast@sbcacomponents.com.